Hare Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisance of Srila Prabhupada. Welcome devotees to our morning Bhagavatam class. This morning we will be hearing from His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. And he'll be giving a class on Canto 1, Chapter 3, Verse 14. And if I may request devotees to please increase your volume. The recording sometimes can be a little bit hard to hear based on the recording. So we will start right away. And request devotees to please at least take one, have one takeaway from the class of Srila Prabhupada so that we can share at the end and have a very nice discussion. Hare Krishna.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Mutpaparam Saparibrajacharya Sattva Sadasmad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavavrinda ki jai Ramacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai Sri Radha Krishna Gaur Gopinath Sam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai Vrindavan Dham ki jai Navadvip Dham ki jai Ganga Mai ki jai Jamuna Mai ki jai Tulasi Devi ki jai Bhakti Devi ki jai Swami Bhaktivedanta ki jai. All glories to the Assembly. All glories to the Assembly. All glories to the Assembly. Thank you very much.
Translation. O Brahmins, the ninth incarnation of the Lord, prayed for by the sages, was King Prithu, who cultivated the land to yield various produces, and for that reason the earth was beautiful and attractive.
This refers to King Prithu, Maharaj Prithu. So, his father's name was King Beno. And his father's name was, I don't remember, perhaps Ango, like that. So, the Beno's father married one woman. She was the daughter of death. Means the family was not very good. So as a result of this marriage, a son was born whose name was Bena, who came out to be first-class rogue. So, the father of Bena wanted to reform him in so many ways, but he could not. The son was not to be correct. So the father became disgusted, and one day he left home without any knowledge of the family members or the officers, and king left. Then the great sages and brahmanas, because without king there was irregularities in the kingdom, just like we have got experience. If there is no good government, strong government, the rogues, thieves, smugglers and so many other disruptive elements, they will grow. Because they are always existing, they find out the opportunity. As soon as there is some revolution, political upsurge or mismanagement of the government, these undesired elements, they come out. So, when the father of Ben Maharaj left home, the kingdom became unruly. Therefore, the sages and saintly persons, they asked the queen that your son, although he is worthless, so let him become king. There must be some king. So this Bena was made king by the desire of the saintly person. The significance is that formerly the Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas and the Shudras, these four departments, they must remain. Varnashram, that must be maintained. Class, division. So, the Brahmanas, this saintly person sages, they used to recommend that yes, this person is fit for becoming king. Then the coronation was celebrated. They mean that the Kshatriyas were under the order of the Brahmanas. So, when Bena became king, of course, the rogues and thieves, they were immediately subdued, because the rogues and thieves, and here the king is also greater rogue, so the smaller rogues were subdued immediately. That was one of the benefits, because he was very strong and cruel. Immediately caught a rogue, he'll immediately cut off his head. So they were subdued, but he himself is a rogue. Nunang mohdang tatre, this is our experience. Might is right. If you are stronger, then you can subdue less strong. But he became very much disturbing. He was atheist, and he ordered that there is no God, I am God. So what I say, you have to abide the Brahman's words. You cannot perform yogas, this is not required. In this way, he became too much disturbing. Then one day all the Brahmanas and the sages, they came to give him instruction. My dear king, it is not your duty to stop all kinds of religious activities, just like the communist government. Yes. But who hears? He said, no, why you are trying to pacify God? I am God. You just act. If you are actually God conscious, then you act according to my order. So, when the sages and Brahmins became disgusted, he was killed by the Brahmins, by their order, he says. The Brahmins were so strong, by simply cursing, they could kill anyone. So the man was killed. Then again the rogues and thieves came out. Then from the body of Ben, they created two sons. One son was black, and he was ordered that you go to the forest, because they could know that he is the exact son of the father. Nishada. Nishada. He was sent to the forest. And then the king Prithu was born. The king Prithu is incarnation of, power incarnation of God. Saktave Sabata. So he proved himself as a great king on this earth. He produced foodstuff, food grains profusely. That from the life of King Prithu we can understand. We are discussing that in the 4th canto, the life of Maharaj Prithu. How good government can we maintain? Prithu Maharaj is the ideal king. He produced, he made arrangement. The earth was not producing sufficient food grains, so he attacked the earth that why you are not producing. The Mother Earth said that because the people have become demon and they are simply eating but they are not doing their duty, therefore I have minimized producing grain. This is to be very important, that the earth can produce any amount of food grains. There is no question of overpopulation. There is no question of overpopulation. Because everyone is being fed by the mercy of God. Eka mohnang vidadhati kama. God is giving everyone the foodstuff. I have several times explained in this class that nobody has got any food problem. Simply the so-called civilized, advanced in science, these people have got problems of food grains. Otherwise, there are millions of elephants, they are eating very nicely. There are ants, there are elephants, there are tigers, there are monkeys, there are trees, so many. 8,400,000 forms of body. How they are eating? Unless they are eating, we kill animals. But the animals do not come to us that we are starving, give us food. Never. By nature, there is arrangement, foodstuff, the cows, the other animals, they are eating grass. There is profuse growth of grass. So, they are not eating your nice foodstuff, sandesh, rasgulla, You are making Sandesh Rasgulla from the milk which they deliver. They are eating grass and delivering you nice foodstuff, milk. And from the milk you can make hundreds and thousands of nice, nutritious, full of vitamin foodstuff. But no, we are so full that instead of utilizing the milk, we are utilizing the blood. You see? These rascals, the scientists, they do not know that milk is nothing but transformation of the blood. That everyone knows. So if you want to, that is nature's way, by God's will, that a cow gives 40 pounds, 50 pounds milk daily, but it does not drink. Although it is her milk, no, it gives you, human society. You take. But don't kill me. Let me live. I am eating only grass. You see? And the civilized men killing them. Killing them. And they want peace. Just see the fun. Without touching your foodstuff, the cow is eating the grass which is given by God, immense grass, and they are giving you the finest foodstuff, milk. Just after your birth, you have only to drink milk. Either mother's milk. Now nowadays mothers do not supply milk. That is also to be supplied by the cow. So from the very beginning of my life, I am subsisting by the foodstuff given by mother, cow, and when I am grown up, I kill. This is my gratitude. Just see. And they are called civilized. Less than lowest animal, Naradhama. They are called Naradhama, lowest of the mankind. Those who are killing cows, maintaining slaughterhouse, they are lowest of the mankind. They are not human beings, less than animal. They have no gratitude. So, the idea is that there is no food problem. That as the Mother Earth said to King Prithu, that I am restricting. So the more you become sinful, the food supply will be stopped. This is the law of nature. At the end, there will be no food grains at the end of Kali Yuga. That is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam. There will be no food grain, no fruits, no milk, no sugar. You have to live on flesh and blood. At that time, being hungry, you will kill your own children and eat flesh and blood. That day is waiting. So this is the civilization, most heinous civilization. It can only be saved by spreading this Krishna consciousness movement. Otherwise there is no way. It's so sinful civilization. Therefore our first restriction is no meat eating. The most sinful act, meat eating or intoxication, drinking, gambling and illicit sex. These are the 4 pillars of sinful life. So unless you stop, you break these 4 pillars, how you can think of God? God is not so cheap. The rascal says you can do whatever you like. I give you, I push your eyes and you see God. You push your nose, you see God. These nonsense things are going on. But God is not so cheap. He is cheap, very cheap, He is very kind. But we want to remain sinful, that we cannot see God. Arjuna addressed Krishna, Param Dhama, Param Brahma, Pavitram Paramam Bhama. You are the most pure. So, how you can approach God with sinful life? That's not possible. That is simply bogus thing. That you keep your sinful life, at the same time you want to see God, you want to talk with God. That is not possible. So, this point is that if the population of the world becomes sinful, demonic, then nature will not supply you sufficient food. She will diminish. We have got experience. In India, we have seen some years there is overproduction of mango. People are very cheap, everyone can purchase it. And sometimes there is no supply, some years. Similarly, food grains also. Some years there is oversupply of food grain. And sometimes there is scanty supply. Now, this supply of food grains, fruits and everything, even milk, in our new Vrindavan, because the cows feel very safe, they give us sufficient milk. That is our experience. So you keep things in order according to the Vedic injunction. You get sufficient food. There is no question of scarcity. But if you become sinful, demons, then the nature's food supply will be ultimately stopped. You can produce your food in the factory. You cannot do that. You can produce motor cars to consume all the petroleum within the earth, and then you become no petrol. Then throw all these motor cars, unless you find out some other energy. That you can do. You can make things topsy-turvy. But by your so-called scientific advancement, you cannot increase stop non-production. That you cannot. So there was such a time, because Prithu Maharaj's father was a demon, he stopped all religious activities, therefore people became demonic, and there was restriction of food supply. Then Prithu Maharaj made arrangement, and there was sufficient food stock. Dugdhi imam osadhi vipra tinayang sausattam. Since Prithu Maharaj arranged the whole society to be religious, to be God conscious, everything becomes beautiful. This can be done even now. If people become Krishna conscious, the whole world will become beautiful, Vaikuntha, without any anxiety. That is possible, because that is nature's law. Just like if you become criminal, the state police force will always harass you. You cannot get out of it. It will harass you. But that is expensive job for the government, because it requires extra police, extra management, extra everything. But if the people become honest, God conscious, so many expenditure will be reduced. And money will be saved for spreading Krishna consciousness or for Krishna's service. Then the whole world will become exactly as it was in the Prithu Maharaj's day. So Prithu Maharaj was very nice king. He not only helped producing enough foodstuff, but he was examining each man whether he is employed or not. There was no unemployment in Prithu Maharaj's time. Everyone must have employment, engagement. Nowadays, in spite of so much advancement of science, there are thousands and thousands of unemployed people. They have no sufficient engagement. Of course, in your country, although there is employment, they are denied to accept employment. In India, for employment, there is employment bureau by the government. So if you go to any employment bureau, you will find thousands of men are standing in line to get a job. Unemployment. But it is the duty of the government to see that nobody is unemployed. Everyone must have some means of earning. That is good government. So Prithu Maharaj did it. The Brahmins, not that a Brahmin will be employed as a Shudra. No. A Brahmin must be employed as Brahmin. A Kshatriya must be employed for Kshatriya. A Vaishya must be employed for Vaishya and Shudra. That was the system. The Brahmins are rejected in the present society because they have no more interest in religious activities. They don't care for the Shastra, Sadhu, no, don't care. They simply sense-care. Dhyakyam kutumma bharanam. Udaram bharita. At the present moment, people will be satisfied, just like animal. If animal has got sufficient food to fill up the belly and sufficient arrangement for sex, then he is satisfied. He doesn't want anything. So man has become like that. If his belly is filled up with some rubbish thing, and he is free to have sex life, then he thinks my life is perfect. No. And more perfect life, dhyakyam kutumba bharanam. In this age, if one man can maintain his wife and children, he will be considered a great man. He is so able. That is maintaining his wife and children. Maintaining wife and children, even cats and dogs can do. But in this age, if a man can maintain his wife and children, he will be considered a very expert. Because most people will have no wife, no children. This is the age. So, more you become sinful, the more you become irresponsible, the more you become godless. These things are avoided. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna devotee. So another amazing lecture by Srila Prabhupada as always. Many points in this lecture by Srila Prabhupada. I'm going to go up so that if devotees would like to recall their points that they would like to share a takeaway, please do unmute yourself and jump right in to share your points, or you can put it in the chat and I'll be happy to read it for you. Anyone would like to share something, a takeaway, at least one, that would be really nice, so that we can all learn and benefit from each other's takeaway.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. This is a humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, that's just so many points. Some of the takeaways that I have is that he was mentioning in New Vrindavan, which is a one farm community, very nicely run now in West Virginia. The cows are safe and they give sufficient milk. Cows very much have feelings I didn't know much about cows till I got to Gitanagri, and even though I didn't have service directly taking care of cows, talking to the devotees that took care of cows, we learned a lot about them. And one of the things that I learned was that a cow that is unsafe will not give as much milk as a cow that feels safe. I also learned that a cow that is milked by hand gives more milk than a cow with a machine is sucking machine is stuck in the udders, and that machine gives milk. They can give milk still, but they have very, very much a bond that they can establish if they are treated very nicely and cared for. Of course, these days, everything is mechanized, and after the cow is not giving any more milk, then they will cut their throat and use the flesh. Sometimes even when the cows are not at that point, they still just to have a supply of meat, of beef, they will kill the cows anyway. So that was some of things that Prabhupada talked about that connected with the things that I heard in other dhammas from other devotees. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I think I do remember that as you were speaking about the cows, because that when a cow is fearful or in a non-positive environment, they don't provide much milk. And I do remember that as you're speaking about it, you know, Krishna's arrangement, Krishna's mercy, I should say, that I was able to breastfeed both the girls, both my daughters. And I remember times when I was not in the right mindset, anxiety, upset, you know, tired, exhausted, you know, trying to rush, all that. When I had to breastfeed my kids, the milk flow was very low. Was very low. I remember I had to really, not only is it low, but it also affects the child that we are breastfeeding, and the child becomes very antsy, as they say, cannot sit still, cannot be still. And I completely, I experienced that firsthand. That is very important for a mother, even to be in the right, positive, calm environment when breastfeeding a child. Then the child is receiving the milk from the mother in a very calm way, because through the milk we send you know, not good thoughts and energy and vibes, as they call it, into the child, and that's why the child gets so antsy. But yeah, that was a very good point. Thank you for sharing that. Very, very good point. And if we think about Goloka Vrindavan, or even in Krishna pastimes, you know, that we've read in Krishna book, how the cows, because the cows was so safe, because Krishna was there, so the cows were so safe. He got so much love that they were able to give so much milk. They didn't feel any, you know, fear or threat. Their life was going to be, you know, killed. They were in a very safe, loving environment. So during, you know, when Krishna was on the planet in Vrindavan, Nanda Maharaj's cows, they gave so much milk because they were living in a very fearless environment. So yes, that's it. Thank you for sharing that. I was getting some realizations, some reflections on that point. Thank you. Anyone else would like to share something from Srila Prabhupada's lecture? A thought, a reflection, anything that we got from this, at least one point. And yes, Bhakta Bread is so nice to see you.
Nice to hear your voice, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Accept
Please
my
accept
obeisance
my
as
humble
well as
obeisance.
Srila Prabhupada.
Oh God, this is divine grace.
Yeah.
Mataji, I mean, power packed lecture from His divine grace. I mean, just from opening up, it really set the mood with, you know, Govinda and going into Jaya Radha Madhava. But I just wanted to comment on the pastime that Srila Prabhupada shared in this purport. It immediately made me think of the verse Balabhadra always shares with us, 321 in Bhagavad Gita. And in that purport, it made me think of this specific sentence where it says, one who desires to improve himself must follow the standard rules as they are practiced by the great teachers. And to me, I feel like Srila Prabhupada really tied that in with this pastime. I feel like the essence of this pastime is just growth within society. When we see King Vena's father leave, we see, society immediately fall apart. The moment there isn't someone in that position of leadership, it falls apart. And as it goes on, we see, King Vena is an individual who, is just breaking all the offenses, making every wrongdoing possible. He's a master rogue. But part of me feels sympathetic with King Vena because the brahmacharyas know that and the brahmanas know that we need a leader in position. Mankind needs someone on that seat. And I sympathize with him because when he was given that purpose, it brought meaning to his life. And for a moment, him being the master rogue that he was able to, kind of level out society and not make it as bad. But with that being said, still making all these offenses, it kind of pushed the brahmanas. It made, we always say, oh, we shouldn't kill. So that's a question that we can discuss, but we know that, inaction is worse than just performing an action. So the brahmanas take care of King Vena. They pray, we're blessed with Maharaj Pruta, which sets the example again and shows society that we have to move towards this God conscious mindset, and that, just living without God and living under, your own analytical thoughts of what you perceive to being aware, it isn't going to cut it when it comes to a community or a society or this caste system or devotional service. So yeah, to me, Mataji, Srila Prabhupada just really hits it home with a pastime that just shows us within Krishna consciousness, we need to have the ability to remain aware and be receptive to growth and be able to overcome difficult obstacles, because any difficult obstacle, even a tyrant leader, with the right intelligent people, because if you read the purport of this specific verse, Srila Prabhupada outlays how, the most intelligent people are the ones who are dealing with the community. They're not the person that is in the direct position of leadership. They're the ones who, communicate in this mastermind. So, it takes a village, like you always say, Mataji. That's what this purport really brings home for me. So that's my reflection. Hare Krishna.
Such a wonderful reflection, Bhaktivedanta. Thank you so much. And yes, and I liked how you said that Srila Prabhupada brought it to the point where how we have to be very, paraphrasing your point, have to be very in tune with ourselves for spiritual growth. Like we have to be aware, we have to be reflective, we have to be conscious. And, and I think Mother Gita one time said this, in order, and I've heard even, I think Prabhupada said it too, I'm trying to remember, but, to be Krishna conscious, we have to be conscious. So it's so important that we have to develop that ability, lack of a better word, to be conscious, to be aware, to be reflective, to be realized, to really see, okay, am I doing this right? Why am I doing this right? Did I do this right? How can I make myself better? It's, and that's how we grow in our spiritual life. But yes.
And when it's time, through that, when it's time to step in and speak up, in the case of the Brahmanas removing King Vena from his position, there does come a time, even in our own lives, even with your own, an individual's own anarthas or troubles, there's only so many times you can put a shirt in the washer and keep washing it and keep washing it and keep before it tears, and you just need a new one. You need to do something different, so Hare Krishna, Mataji.
That was a good analogy. You can put a shirt in the washer. I like that. After a while, you're going to go get a new one, right? That's a good one. Yeah, it's true. And you made a good point, Bhaktivedanta, like after a while, the Brahmas were like, we've had it. We're done. we got to put this to a stop. It's ruining the kingdom, they're ruining the people, bad things, rogues, thieves, like it's done. Like, that's a limit. So yeah, that was a very good point. And I think here also what's coming to my mind is the importance of community building. How, it took the Brahmanas to actually step in and say, okay, King Vena, we are done with you. This is too much, like community building means like we build a community where we have all this essence of Vaishnava relationships to be able to help each other, to be better servants of the Lord, and also to respect Mother Earth. Like Prabhupada talks so much about Mother Earth. And I remember when I was taking economics class a few years ago, and this is my economic teacher, and she said, actually, there is enough to meet the world's needs, but the greed is too high. So she said, we can meet the need, but we can't meet the greed. And I was like, wow, this is a Bhagavatam class in itself when she said it. But yeah, it's so true. It is really, really true. But yes, wonderful points, Dr. Brett. As always, so nice to see you for such a long time. Miss
so
you.
nice to hear your voice. Miss you, Mataji.
Dronacharya asked about you, by the way.
I was just talking with.
Oh,
okay, I was just talking with Mother Sita about 2 nights ago.
Good.
Filling her in on life. Trying to touch bases, but I miss you all. Hare Krishna.
We hope to see you soon when things get better.
Absolutely.
Haribol. Any other devotees would like to share feedback, a point, a reflection, a realization from this amazing class by Srila Prabhupada? Amazing class.
Hare Krishna. That Mahavila obeisances, devotees of glory Srila Prabhupada. So one of the things that Srila Prabhupada said King Pritu's government was that in King Pritu's government, everybody was employed. And he said that is good government. When everybody is employed, then of course the means for sustaining oneself is also there. And now there's all kinds of unemployment, and he talked about India. While you go to the Bureau for Unemployment, there's a long line of people waiting to get employed, which means all those people have no means of earning a livelihood. So it's very, very important. In a good government, everybody is employed. Take the point there. Hare Krishna.
Yes, that is a very good point, unemployment, because and I also like the point where Srila Prabhupada, I'm trying to find his words, where he says, even if in a country there's something of unemployment, and he was saying that yes, of course, in your country, although there is employment, they deny to accept employment. I was like, that is so true. How, I mean, it's funny, it's really, really amazing that there is a need for employment, but people deny to accept employment, because they just want to be lazy, and they just want to take Mother Earth for granted, take their needs for granted, everything is misuse what is there and offered by Mother Earth. So they just want to just use it for their selfish reasons and just deny employment. Yeah, there is that situation here. I thought that was very interesting when he mentioned that. And interestingly, this class was from the 70s, so we're in 2022, like 50 something years later. So it's amazing. Thank you for bringing that up. Any other points? Yes, Dr. Brett, go right ahead.
I wanted to bring that up too. Prabhuji said what I was thinking. Srila Prabhupada always spoke on matters that weren't in the limelight back then, but were still discussed amongst the scientific community. I love it. I don't know. It just goes in with the appreciation of Srila Prabhupada. When people understand how intelligent the man truly was. These are things me and Guru Maharaj, me and Chandramani Maharaj speak about. We were just talking about the shortage of food, that the crisis that we're going to be facing this upcoming holiday season. And again, it's not a matter of God. It's a matter of man's control. It's a matter of poor governments just not wanting to supply. So I just wanted to share that, Srila Prabhupada really, spoke on the matters that were pressing, and we're seeing them come into limelight today, now 50 some years later.
So true, yes. And it's true, Srila Prabhupada spoke on matters of life as it is at the time, what's practical, what's visible. And when you're speaking, Bhaktivedanta, I remember one lecture transcription by Srila Prabhupada that I think I have said it many times, where Srila Prabhupada says that the Krishna conscious movement is an all-rounded movement where we address all issues of life: spiritual, social, economical, emotional, mental, physical. He went on with his list. He says that Krishna consciousness movement is an all-rounded movement. So yes, he spoke and addressed the matters. Yes, very nice point. Thank you. Any other points from devotees? Any other thoughts, takeaways from this really, really amazing class by Srila Prabhupada?
Hare Krishna. Just one more point to take away. As Srila Prabhupada was saying, well, actually two of them, but we'll just talk about one. That is going to get to the point where if a man can maintain his wife and children, then he's considered an expert in life. So that's an interesting one that's coming out. We're close to it now, actually.
Yeah.
People being able to maintain, then they say, oh, then you're a good person just because you're able to maintain. But life is far more than that, just maintenance only. That's for the body. Which means that if the underlying thing is if a person is only maintaining his wife and children, but he is not considering the spiritual aspect, which is the most important aspect, as important, still society is going to look at him as an expert. It's quite shameful that it's happening in Kali Yuga.
Thank you. And as you were speaking, also I was in regards to maintenance, I was thinking about this point that Srila Prabhupada, I've heard many times, but it's so powerfully a rude awakening that Srila Prabhupada brings it up again, that when we take everything, I'm trying to look for this quote for the paragraph, where he says that we take everything for granted, that as Kali Yuga progresses, as it ends towards the end of Srimad Bhagavatam, that people will be eating each other. I was like, Hare Krishna Chaitanya. Like I said, I've heard that before, but to hear it again is like literally a rude awakening. There it is. He says, so the idea that there is no food problem, as Mother Earth said to King Prithu, that I am restricting. So the more we become sinful, the food supply will be stopped. This is the law of nature. And at the end, there'll be no food grains at the end of Kali Yuga. That is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam. There'll be no food grain, no fruits, no milk, no sugar. We have to live off flesh and blood. And I was like, Hare Krishna. And then he says, and that day is waiting. This is civilization. So, and he said, it can only be saved. Now, this is the really powerful point that Srila Prabhupada said, that it can only be saved by spreading this Krishna conscious movement. There is no other way otherwise, he said. So this is such an important point that, that we see, some countries, that they have started eating meat that never existed from such animals, like probably like 50 years ago. It's just so 70 years ago, 80 years ago, it's becoming definitely more and more degraded. So it shows how important it is for us to spread the Krishna conscious movement, but at the same time, take up the Krishna conscious movement and embrace it, because that is the only saving grace for us. As Srila Prabhupada said, was really powerful. Like I said, I've heard it, but to hear it again and again, each time we hear something at different times, we learn something new from it. And that's one reflection that was like pretty strong for me. So yes. Any other points from devotees? Any other thoughts, reflection, takeaways from this amazing class by Srila Prabhupada? Please do jump. You can unmute yourself and go straight in. And just a humble reminder that this evening we have Bhagavad Gita circle reading with Balabhadra Prabhu at 6 o'clock. We are continuing with chapter 18, the last chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So please do join us. And tomorrow morning, we have class by Chandramali Swami. So please do join us. We just started the 13th chapter of the first canto, and it's titled Dhritarashtra Quits Home. And please, and tomorrow we'll start with the second verse of that chapter by His Holiness Chandramali Swami. So please do join us tomorrow, 7 a.m. Yes, please, it's 7 o'clock because Maharaj is back in UK. So please do join us at 7 o'clock. And I think he's in India, something, but I know he's out of US. So we got to go back to the 7 a.m. time. So please do join us at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning with His Holiness Chandramali Swami. If there are no questions and comments, we look forward to seeing you all this evening at 6 o'clock with Balabhadra Prabhu, and tomorrow morning with His Holiness Chandramali Swami. Until then, Vanchakrapuribhyascha Kripasindu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Bhakta Bread.